Okay. Hi. Welcome, welcome. I'm a little bit early, just a bit, but I have a little bit of information. This is the class sending the sending love fun folds. Basically, we'll be doing these four cards, and it looks like this needs to be raised a little bit. Let's see. Um, that worked better. Yeah, a little bit better. Trying to get things evened up. All right. So, anyway, these are the four cards we're going to be doing. Before we get into the cards, I want to give people time to sign in. Thank you for joining us for the fun. I'm still learning the process of doing the lives, so I'm trying to include information. You can help me learn along the way. We do have the comments that should be on. And if there's questions you have, feel free to put comments in. I'm um, trying to train myself to watch the comments as well. And mostly, I just want to share the joy of making cards. And I had a lot of fun putting these together. Now, for the people who purchased kits, I did have some pre prep that I suggested, and I hope you were able to do that. But if you didn't, because this is recorded, you can always watch and then go back and do it later. Another thing I wanted to mention, bonus days are currently going. You can earn bonuses January 6th through February 2nd. Um, so you can earn coupons when you shop, and then what happens is when you shop and spend $50, you'll earn a $5 coupon, and then you can redeem it starting February 3rd. There's no limits on how many coupons you can earn, so keep shopping and keep earning. Uh, Now, the coupons will be emailed to everyone who earns them, so you need to keep an eye out for that. The redemption period is February 3rd through the 28th, which gives you the time to browse the new mini catalog and find the things that you like and want to participate in. Now, this is one page out of the catalog. It's Nature's Sympathy, Sympathy, yeah, Symphony, I'll say it right, bundle. But I found the paper pretty attractive. And next month's class will include a card um, using this idea. When I first saw this, I got excited because one of the fun things I like to do is create my own paper. And on this page, they talk a little bit about it. Uh, you don't have to do it. The paper they have in this set is beautiful, double sided, and because it's not specific, it can be adapted to many things. I hope you're all having a good day today. And I think this is a fun way to spend a little bit of time on a Saturday morning. Let's see. I want to keep on the right page. Okay. Now, I'm going to start with this card. And I hope I'm still learning, but I hope I can cover all the details that you need. Now, this card was actually a layout that I used at Christmas time, and I absolutely loved it. And I wanted to share it, but I just didn't. I had too many cards already I wanted to share. So I'm just showing you an alternative. It's a double flat fold. It has a little, like I just used a little circle here with a message, a small message, but that's all you need is just some little item down here that you raise up on dimensionals that you can insert your flap to hold it closed. Now, in doing this card, I used an older set. We got this, I'm not sure which year. They should date these, I think. But I think it was last year for Valentine's. Anyway, this came with the dies and the stamps. And I just think it's so pretty. I've used this several times. It's a little delicate, but I think it's just so elegant. The paper I used for this card was from the Regal Winter collection. I'm sorry, I just think the paper is so gorgeous, and I've used it a lot, and I bought a lot, but it just worked perfectly for what I wanted to achieve here. Now, let's see. In the kit, I'm moving fast because I'm trying to cut down on the amount of time I take on these, because I'm told that people like things to move fast, but I don't want to miss steps as well. In the kit, you have, of course, that beautiful heart, the card base, okay, which I can measure that for you, is 6.5 by 5.5. Then you have your layers, which for the designer series paper, you have 4 by 5.25, which will be fitting right inside here. Then you'll have, this should be 5.25, yes, 5.25 by 2, which will fit here. Then you'll have a second flap card, which we will be putting centered on the gold layer and then centering it in here. But on the front of this, I put, let's see, the flap card is 5.5 by 4. And then it's folded or scored at 2 3/4 in half. And then this designer series paper is 2.5 by 3 3/4, and it will fit here. Then we'll have, I don't know if you can see it in the shadow or not, but we have the circle for the sentiment, and I gave you several little hearts that I die cut out, which to use for embellishment. I want to try and follow along with my instructions so that you can also, those that have them, can follow through. Let's see. Well, we're going to start with a large piece of designer series paper. I haven't opened my glue yet. And I'm just going to run a bead of glue along the edge. And then I'm going to place it on the inside with the short flap in front, on the inside of the card base. And I'm centering it so that I have about 1/8 of an inch border along each side. Now, sometimes when I'm doing stuff, I'll put a weight on it, but this is going to adhere pretty quickly. For the front piece, oh, let's keep that card out here where you can see it. There, you can follow me a lot easier that way. I'll bring this down a little lower. All right. For the front flap, we're going to use the designer series paper in the same pattern facing up. And same story, run the bead of glue along the edge. And center it, trying for the even borders all around. And the reason why I use liquid glue is because I don't always get it exactly right first time around. So I appreciate the opportunity to correct myself. Now, we're going to go ahead and add, actually, this paper is fun because it has beautiful designs on both sides. It's so hard to cover up the other one, but I think it just makes the heart stand out to have a less busy design behind it. Here we go. Same procedure. Now, I want to make sure you understand this is reversed from what you usually do with cards because it's going to be a double flap. I wanted to make sure you understood that. And I also wanted to be, now this one's pretty close, but be specific in checking, you know, if there's a little bit of overlay, you want the bigger overlay in front, not behind. In this case, the piece is pretty even. Again, laying it on there with the liquid glue and making sure that it's lined up. Okay. All right. And then we want to put it on the gold panel. Again, centered. So I am doing this. And here's where I have to look again, line things up. And that's why when I put the bead of glue on the piece, I want to make sure I've got like a little, like maybe a quarter of an inch leeway, because I do have to make adjustments. And if it's too close, the glue might seep out. Now for the inside, we're going to take this piece and put it here with this side up. So that's what we're going to do right now. While that other piece dries. Oh, I also want to say we have an improvement, and I hope you can enjoy it. I bought some more lights to give us better lighting to reduce the sharpness of the shadows that I had before. So we're making another step forward. All right. Now, I'm going to go ahead and take this piece and I'm going to put it centered here. And what's going to happen is we'll be able to open this way and this way. So, more glue. I know that creating the cards gives me so much joy, and it's even more fun when I hear back from the people who have received my cards, which lets me know how much they enjoyed receiving it. Now I'm going to do another technique. This heart, as I said earlier, is very detailed. And I have found that when it's so detailed, it's easier for me to put, now this is a silicone mat. The glue won't stick to this I can, after it dries, I can take it off without too much trouble. But what I'm doing is I'm adding a little pool of glue to allow me to use an actual sponge. Let me go get the sponge. Okay. I'm using a sponge, and I'm just kind of picking up the glue, and then over the silicone mat on the reverse side, I'm tapping it down, which dispenses a small amount of glue, which only sticks specifically to the areas. Now, I picked that up just then because I wanted to move it. I didn't want to bounce my front on top of the little bit of glue that was there, if you can see that. And then I also use, these are reverse tweezers. I find them very handy to give me better control over my placement. And I see where I want it, and I put it down carefully, and then I pat it into place. Now for that, I'm going to add the weight. And then we're going to move on to this little goodie. Now, I wanted to talk to you a little bit. Let's see. I close these up pretty firmly because I don't want to lose anything. See, here's the circle for the sentiment. And you just need a small sentiment for this. In this case, moving it over here so you can see, I used gold heat embossing. And the sentiment I used actually came from a paper pumpkin kit. I saved the stamps from that. To do this, for those who haven't done heat embossing, this is a step that's easy to forget if you're so focused on what you want to accomplish. But I'm using it. This is called an embossing buddy, and I'm using it to rub over the surface that I'm going to stamp, because sometimes when you're holding it, you get a little bit of oil from your fingers. And then I'm using Versamark, and this is clear. If you're stamping it, Versamark stamp on colored cardstock, it'll make it slightly darker. So if you wanted just to put a slight, I just goofed. I shouldn't have done that. Shouldn't have put my finger on there. Being cautious. Come on. Okay, let's start again. Okay. Okay. You just kind of center it. Now what I'm doing is I'm looking at it and I'm leaving a little more space at the top. Okay, because I'm going to put that little heart there, and then I move it away. And then I'm going to cover this up. A good habit to be in, always cover your ink pads. I'm going to bring my gold embossing powder, and I'm using my double tweezers again. I'm going to add some gold embossing powder to this. Let's get it over here so you can see. Just sprinkle a bit on, shake it around. There you go. You check it over to make sure there aren't any stray pieces of embossing powder hanging around, because when you use the heat to emboss it, those little stray pieces will also adhere. And once they're heated, you cannot get them off. So that's a caution. Now I'm going to move the mat, but Now Stampin' Up! Has a glass mat, and it's actually a set of products, but a glass mat that they use with the grid marks already on there. I had already got a glass mat because I wanted to protect my surface, and I can see through it. And what I did was I took some of the grid paper that they have, and I just placed it under it. And you may have seen in previous videos where I have used that. Well, you saw it today too, because I was measuring. And then I'm just going to use the heat. I don't know how well, it's not real noisy, but I don't know how well you can hear me talk over the sound. Okay. Okay. Let's see if you can see that. It's all heat embossed. Anyway, and then we're going to add the little heart. Now, here's another tool that I use, but I'm going to have to free a heart up. Okay. Okay, this is called the Take a Pick tool. Now, as you just saw me use, I use the pointed end to kind of separate the heart from the sticky surface of the Post-it note. On the other side, there's this, I'm going to move that because it's been used. There's a little gummy surface, and what you do is you just twist it, and the new gummy surface will emerge, and that's what you use to pick up. Now, I'm also going to use another tool. These are precision chip bottles. In fact, I should have checked mine before I started this. Just looking for a little scrap. What happens is you can put the glue, and it's the same glue as I'm using here, the Tombow glue, but I put it in the bottle with the precision chip. And then what I'm doing now is I'm just checking to make sure that it's coming out. I should have done this earlier. Oh, there it goes. Make sure there. Okay, I got it. Now I'm going to put a little dot there. I'm counting on the light to show me when the dot comes out, which it's not. Come on. All right. When all else fails, you use the little pin and free things up. Okay. There. No, not yet. Maybe it's time for me to redo it. Maybe it's time for me to fill the bottle again. Well, I got a little glue from this. I'm going to use it. Picking up. Ooh, that came out a lot more than I expected. Okay. Picking up the little heart. I'm going to catch some of that glue if I can. Okay, it's the little things that give you a hard time, right? Determination. All right, move that over. That's the problem with little things. They're tiny. They're hard to grab. Okay. I'm going to put this up here to decorate the little sentiment, if you can see. Now, I'm putting the cap back on to help this gummy stay gummy. And then I'm going to use dimensionals Now, when I do this, I'm bringing this down now. I want to put this down here in a way that this part is still free to catch the edge of the folded card, but I want it to be raised. So I can put a dimensional there, and I can put another one down here. That should do it. And then the dimensionals are sticky on both sides. What they do, if you can see that, let me move this so you can see it. Come on. There we go. It raises it slightly. That makes it easier for you to insert the flap under its edge. And there you have it. First card. Done. I just think it's so pretty. In fact, I'm probably going to do a lot of these for my grandkids this year. But this is a kind of card, because of the sentiment I used, you can determine. This is one that you can just use anytime if somebody is having a bad day or, has been ill or something like that. You can let them know that you're thinking about them or caring about them. I really like these cards. I can't help it. Okay, so that's card number 1. And you have a couple extra cards, which I included because they're tiny and easy to get lost. Let's move on to card number 2. All right, got to get everything out of the way so I can make the progress. Okay, card number 2 is this one here. Moving this out of the way. Now this was a card, and I wanted to show you the alternative. I used this layout a lot for Christmas too. I just was having so much fun. What it does is opens like this. Is a step card. And what happens is when it's open like that, the back piece right here forms a frame. And the frame, I think, just accents the whole card. Plus, you have the actual card part here that you can put in. Now, this is an alternative I did for Christmas. It's just so fun to make, because what you do is you get to pick the background and then you decide what you want on the front. Now, in this case, I didn't need as much space as I used on this one. So I aligned it and cut the layer smaller. In this one, I used an embossing folder. I don't know if you can see that. And I added that for extra detail in addition to the elements I put on. Also, I thought I mentioned while I'm at it, I stamped the sentiment before I used the embossing powder. So the stamped sentiment would come out okay and not be interfered with trying to stamp around a raised surface. So that's one clue. Now for this card, let's get there. I'm going to put these away so we have everything orderly. Now for this card, the kit. In the kit, put that up here. Put my tools away so I don't crowd myself. In the kit, you get your bubble bath, which is the card base. And it's 4 4 1/4 and 11 inches long. So it's basically half a sheet of cardstock scored at 5 1/2. This white layer, wrong one, that's the one for the inside. The white layer, which I use to sandwich in some of my elements, the white layer is 4 inches by 9 3/4 long. And then it's scored at 5 1/4 and then again at 7 1/2. And what this does is it creates the step. And you're going to fold, kind of accordion fold, so it looks like that. And what you're going to do is you'll be adding that to the front of the card. Okay. Now, before I attach this, I'm going to go ahead and put the paper on. So we have the larger piece of designer series paper, which is 3 3/4 by 5 inches. We're going to add that. Centering it on that back section so you have even borders all around. Okay. And then what I did is I used the reverse side of the paper, and I'm going to put that here because it catches the red that's in the paper itself. And then the front piece, which is the same size. These are both 2 inches by 3 3/4. The front piece will be the same as the bigger piece. So that's what I'm doing right now. And as always, it's so hard to put the glue on the gorgeous paper. And one of the things I like, one of the layouts I like, allows me, in cases when I'm torn, to do a layout where you can show both the front and the back. So you're not hiding the gorgeous anywhere. And then this one goes here. Now, one of the fun things about doing these classes is that I have done a lot of the cutting for you if you have the kit ahead of time. It saves a lot of time and it makes it easy if you wish to create as I am doing it on here. Now I'm going to take and I'm going to put the weight on it for a bit. Let it set. Now for this, we have the golden arch, and we have in the packet of little pieces I've included in the kit, we have this bouquet of flowers that I cut out from the designer series paper. And we have some hearts. Now, what I'm doing is I'm laying out on the pink layer, and I'm laying out the gold hoop. I have the larger red heart, which is going to go at the bottom, and I'm trying to adjust this so that I have room to have both the flowers, okay, and the heart, and I want it centered. Okay, I want this a little higher because that was showing a little bit there. And then I have included a stamped heart. Now, the sentiment I used, oh, let's add a little more information. Okay, I went and I have punches that are heart-shaped. I have a lot of dies that are heart-shaped. And I use this second die here to cut out this smaller heart. And the sentiment, where'd it go? That's the problem. When you fix things up ahead of time, you lose it when you're ready to use it. Okay, well, the sentiment I used came from that same set I showed you earlier. My thoughts of you are all heart-shaped. And I chose that because it fit on the heart just right. There it is. Found it. Okay. So I'm getting ready to do that right now. And I didn't mention this earlier per se, but when you have the photopolymer stamps, they don't have the padding that the rubber stamps have. So it's best to use a mat when you're stamping. And then because it's photopolymer, you can see through it and see where you're stamping, and it makes it much easier to line it up. All right. Another thing I do is I'm using a chamois that's moist, and I'm cleaning my stamp, the photopolymer stamp, right away because it will stain, especially with the red ink. So I do that to try and keep the stain down to a minimum. It doesn't affect the stamping, but I just think it looks better without it being all stained. All right, so for this, I'm going to combine these two. And again, the liquid glue allows me to line things up and adjust them as I see fit. Okay, I'm going to bring it down just a smidge. All right. Okay. That part's ready. And then this part, again, I want to line this up and make sure I've got it where I want it. So what's going to happen is the arch is going to be closer to the top, leaving room at the bottom. And the flowers will be coming almost right up to the top. And that gives me the room for the heart down below. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue the arch on first. Remembering that I need to be close to the top. And lining it up on the edges. You want even borders. And then I'm going to use those dimensionals again. And I am going to put dimensionals on the top of the bouquet so it kind of pops out a little. I'm using both mini dimensionals and I'm going to be using the larger dimensionals. I just use the mini dimensionals on the smaller areas. They are the same thickness. They just are a little larger because sometimes you have larger areas you want to cover. Okay. The bottom, I'm going to put glue on. The top, I'm going to add let the dimensionals do the gluing. Again, I'm measuring. And then when I add the heart, I'm just going to glue it. And you see it'll come down. And you can see the flowers are kind of popped up a little. And that's what I'm going to do. So I'm removing the protective backing from the dimensionals so they will adhere. I'm going to take some glue and put it on here. Okay. And then, now again, I like to use my reverse tweezers to help me with the placement. Okay. And then this, I'm going to add glue to. And bring it down here. Make sure it's lined up the way I want it to be. And here's another point where you want to add the weight. I'm going to let that kind of help out. I want to put that mostly on the bottom. Again, close your stamp pad. Avoid accidents. While we're waiting for that, we have two things we can do. Now on the sample, I put the two hearts on the inside layer. And sometimes I find it's just easier to go ahead with the reverse tweezers. Again, the little ones are like to challenge you. Okay, now here's a situation where it's easier for me if it goes this way. Okay, and I'm just adding it, kind of tucking it in here. Okay, now I'm ready to glue this on the inside of the card base. Again, making sure it's lined up properly. And if it isn't, you can line it up, hold it in place, and use your bone folder to make sure the crease is going the right direction. And you're also checking if there's a little bit of overlap, that the overlap is to the front. Adding the glue. Now you could add a sentiment ahead of time if you have a sentiment you want to use. I'll be probably using it and putting in my own personal note inside. So that gives me a little more space if you like to write longer messages. And again, I'm checking that it's even. Now we're ready to do the front. The front piece, you're going to add the glue. Now, some people like to use the like tape runners. I'm not, I use them on certain occasions, but I'm not a big fan of the tape runners because I know I usually need to do adjustments. That's just me. And I'm looking at this to see if it's centered. Okay, and then I'm ready to let that rest for a bit. All right, so we're getting ready to put this piece on. Notice that you don't want any glue above this line. You have a couple of choices, but I haven't had a big problem as far as determining where to put the glue, because I will take and I will line this piece up next to my card, showing me where the layer stops, and I know where to stop here. Whatever works for you. And that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to lay this over here, and I'm going to just make sure I don't exceed the space I can work with. And because it is kind of out there, I put a little extra glue. And then I'm going to look at this, and I'm going to look and kind of center it. Okay. And I'm going to use the weight again to make sure, got a little glue there, make sure that it adheres well, and give it a moment. But essentially, your card's done. And you now have, I had so much fun with these. Once I learned how to put it together, I was able to grab corresponding, coordinated pieces and decide on what I wanted for the centerpiece. And I just made card after card, a lot of times changing depending on what I used for the paper, what the design was in front. Before I knew it, I had made 17 of them, and I was just having so much fun. It was just whipping right out. So that's our second card, all ready to go. Okay, let's move on to my next grouping of cards. Move these out of the way. The next card we're going to do is this Zig Zag fold. The way it opens up is like that. Now, because I can't do the stamping for you, the set I use, let me get that out. Let me get that out for you. Okay. All right, people. This is the set I used. The Charming Day is getting ready to be retired. It's on the last chance list, but I believe this may already be gone, but the dies are still available, which is what I used in the kits, because I can die cut for you and you can color your own. And it was similar to this stamp here, which is what I happen to use here. I also used the happy birthday here, but there's other birthdays that you can use. Later a card I use this one, but it's, you get your sets and you need to kind of have a way of cataloging where your sentiments are that you want to use. I take copies of them with my printer, and I have them in a folder, and I can look through and say, oh yeah, that's what I want to say, and then I go and find the stamp set. But that's up to you. In this case, okay, let me get the, oh, this is the next step. Yeah. In this case, I used, to color it, I used the alcohol blends, I used the Highland Heather light and dark, and I used the Lost Lagoon light and dark. Now, I don't know if you have those colors And depending on the papers that you use, you can change that to suit the papers that you have. I wanted to give you a little comparison. These are the die cuts. In this case, I used the blends, Lost Lagoon and Highland Heather. In this case, I tried using the my watercolor pencils, and it works, but the colors weren't the same as I wanted. It was fun to give it a try. Because these are not a full sheet, they're a little more fragile. I used heavy duty, thick white cardstock to die cut these. And I wanted to show you the two samples of the colors, but I also wanted to show you the process. And included in your kit will be a stem of, this is actually vellum, which we will add to the bottom. And also there's a couple of rhinestones in there. The card base for this card is 12 inches and cut at 5.5. We are going to be cutting this to create the zigzag. I thought we'd do the coloring first, and you may need to get some of the little pieces out from the die cut. There we go. All right. In coloring this, what I did was I started with a lighter Highland Heather. And I'm using the brush tip to start with because I'm covering a larger area. I use the lighter color kind of as a base color. And then as I come around to where the white flower, or what I want to be a white flower, is, I'm careful to kind of avoid getting too close. Okay. All right. And then go in with the darker. And with the darker, I usually just go mostly the center, and then I add a little bit of extra at the base of each petal. And then I come back in with the light, and I kind of blend it in. Now, what's so great about alcohol markers is they do blend. And they don't always leave these lines that are so obvious. I'm doing this fairly quickly because you want to do your blending before the alcohol has a chance to really dry. Okay. And you're going to have variations in the color, which is how the flowers usually work. I'm going to do the same thing on the others. So if you have your blenders, this would be a good time to be coloring along with me. Now, also I want to mention, when you're coloring with the blenders, You want to do it on the side, not the tip. The tip can break down quickly and then suddenly it doesn't work so good. And then I'm being careful with the weight. And then the dark. And one more. Yeah. It always amazes me how intricate they're able to make these dies. It's just, that was an unexpected thing when I discovered Stampin' Up! Is I knew about stamping, but I knew that they had improved things since the days 30 years before that I had been stamping. But I just never had seen die cuts. What are those, And it was just amazing to me what progress had been made in the years that I hadn't been stamping. I saw the die cuts and I thought, I want to get that machine, which was a Stampin' Up emboss and die cut machine. And at the time, it was kind of expensive. And I thought, well, shoot, if I'm going to spend that much money, I want to get a discount. And that's when I became a demonstrator. I simply felt like if I'm going to be investing that much money, I want to get the most out of it. So that's what I did. And that's why I'm here now. Not that I intended at the time to actually be selling. I just wanted the discount. And they have no problem. Stampin' Up! Has no problem with people who are just hobby demonstrators. And that's all I intended on being. The trick was during COVID. And, we were kind of restricted in getting out, kind of locked down. And I didn't mind being locked down because I was having a blast creating cards. And I was just having so much fun. The joy just kept building and building and building until, oh my gosh, I felt like I was going to burst. And I realized I had to share this, which is why I'm here today, because I think this is so much fun. I didn't want to be selfish and keep it from anyone else. And it's so exciting to not only have joy, but be able to share that joy with others. And I just really enjoyed that part of it. Now I did the leaves, and I started with the light Lost Lagoon, and now I'm adding a touch of the dark Lost Lagoon. And then I'm going to go back in with the light again and kind of blend it out. Now I'm using the point, the line tip on the stems because it's easier to control it, and it's a sturdier tip, so you can use a point. But when you're covering larger areas, it's easier to use the brush tip. Here we go. One last little section here. Okay. Now we have our colored flowers. Can move this stuff out of the way.
What was your...
Okay, now let's go to the tricky part while this dries the rest of the way. And for that, we're going to need our paper trimmer. Let's see, this goes to the other. All right. We're going to need our paper trimmer. I'm trying to move stuff out of the way as I go. And I'm going to follow the directions closely. Okay. As we talked about, this is 12 by 5.5. What we're going to do is we're going to start with this, and I folded it. Mountain fold, valley fold. So we have our zigzag, which is here, zigzag. Now you're going to measure. I'll move this out of the way for a moment. 3 inches down. Actually, I probably could do it just with this, if you can see it. 1, 2, 3, 3 inches down. Okay, so I've got this lined up on my grid paper, and I'm measuring at the 3-inch mark. I make a little mark. You're going to cut from that little mark that you made to the top of the second score line, and that's what's going to cut on your paper trimmer. Let's see. So you're going to take that mark and you're going to line it up with the groove in the paper trimmer, and you're going to take and do the same to the very tip of that score line. And I usually have to check it a couple times because when I move one, it tends to move the other. I think we're pretty good here. Okay, now one of the other things that has been said, I'm holding this carefully. I'm pressing down on this to hold the cardstock in place, and I'm going to cut. And there you have it. There's your zigzag. You can save this piece of cardstock to use on, for die cutting other things. It's thicker because I wanted it sturdy. Now, we're going to be using the paper trimmer frequently. For the papers, we have these three are the same size to start with. They are, yeah, 3. Boy, my eyes are going bad. Okay, 3 3/4 across by 5 1/4. Now this works out perfectly fine for the back piece. There's no adjustment necessary. And when I say the back piece, I'm going to be lining it up again with even borders. Let's do that. That's the easy part. Oh, am I running out of glue? I made a whole bunch of cards at Christmas, and I went through glue super fast. Okay, and I'm going to line this up. All right. Now, for this one, these are both the same design, and the reason why they're both the same design is because they're going to be going back to back. Here's the original card. See, you see this side and you see that side. But notice I have to cut at an angle, and I need to have like 1/8 of an inch. And so, as it turns out, because we've already started cutting, okay, I'm lining this up where you have your 1/8 of an inch down at the bottom, moving it over slightly. Bring it up so you can see. It's not quite 1/8 of an inch there. You need to cut a little bit down. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim. Let's see, I've got it marked down here. Yeah, about 1/16 of an inch off of the top of this. Okay, so 1/16 of an inch actually ends up being about on the slot where you cut. If you bring the cardstock directly to the edge, that's about 1/16 of an inch. It's not very much, but it's enough to make a difference. Okay, it's a little tiny bit. I cut them both at the same time. Now, what you're going to do, and because the paper is busy, I'm not sure that the pencil mark will work in this case, but you're going to take and you're going to line one of them up against your card base, and you're going to mark. Now, I can try with a pencil, but I think it's kind of about 1/8 of an inch down here. And I don't think that's going to show very well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a pair of scissors, and I'm going to cut a little notch. Now, I've got the light showing me just a little tiny notch. And I'm kind of folding it. Maybe you can see that a little better. That gives me the guide. Let's double check on that. I think I want it down just a smidge more. Just a smidge. Okay. Okay, let's see how that looks. All right, so you have the one as a guide. Now you're going to take the same paper, you're going to turn it over so it's back to back. You're going to take your trimmer, and here's where you need sharp eyes. Okay, you're going to line up the tip with the trough, the cutting trough, and you're going to line up the mark. You want to make sure your papers are lined up exactly. Let's see. Yeah, right there. Okay. And then sometimes when you go to cut, if you're headed to a point, it tends to fight you, so I'm going the other way. All right. Now you have your two pieces. You're going to line up the one and line up the other. Oop. I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I had a whole lot of birthday cards going out this month. In fact, I still have a few more to do. And I got through with the Christmas cards, and then I started on the thank you cards. And then I looked at my list of birthdays, and I'm going, oh, I got to get going on that too. So I was pretty busy. Now here we're going to put the other side piece up. So I think maybe next year, one of the designs I'll do for my November class will be at least some thank you cards, because after all, we send thank you cards out after Christmas, right? Okay, so there we have the two pieces. Similar process with this, but this looks square, but it's not. You got to line it up and make sure that you have like 1/8 of an inch on either side, because the other side is a little shorter and you wouldn't. It'd be too wide. So that's what I'm cautioning you about now. But basically the same process. You line it up, and then you're going to mark. Again, this is dark, so I'm going to take the scissors and mark about 1/8 of an inch down. I don't know if you can see that, but, and then I'm going to fold it back so I can see the tick mark. And similar process, just go. The tick mark and the point. Okay, the tick mark and the point. Again. All right, holding that in place. Okay. Okay. This perennial lavender paper is so beautiful. I just was so thrilled when they carried it over. And I bought more. I know a lot of other people feel similar. Okay. All right. Now we get to the fun part. We're going to be putting this on here. But we are also going to work on this vellum. And we have this piece here. When I was looking at some older sets. This one is Unbounded Love. It may still be current. I think it probably is. I've had a lot of fun with it. It has a lot of sentiments on there. I like the happy birthday here, but it doesn't have the thinking of you I like here. This one doesn't have that. Although you will find sentiments on your sets. Like this is Perennial Postage, which was part of the suite for the Perennial Lavender. And it has like big hugs. It works well like for the Valentine's card. You could use that on it. Or let's see what this one has. Here's the thinking of you. Okay, it might be a little big. Let's see. That one might be a little big. Okay. So I'm going to use this one. Now this is a photopolymer. Wait a minute, let's see. Ooh, I'm not seeing you. Why am I not seeing you? Oh, because you fell. That's why. Okay. It lost its stickum. Okay, now when I'm doing a stamp like that, I wash the back to awaken the stickiness of it. And then I'm going to take a block, laying it down, and then let it relax so it stays straight. And then I believe I wanted Pretty Peacock. Okay. Pretty Peacock. Let's put this back. And we want the pad. And because it's photopolymer, we can see through it. Okay. I'm going to close this down. Put this away. All right. So we have our card. We have this that we want to put on. You see it still fits within the parameters. We want to make sure this fits here. And then we're going to take this vellum and we are going to cut it in 2 pieces. Let's see. I'm going to take, am I getting close enough so you can see? A section there. Section there. Okay, so I got 3 pieces. Now, vellum is a little tricky to glue it. You want to get where you're gluing hidden by stuff on top. And then when I added this, I used dimensionals. And in this case, we may need to use the mini dimensionals. I don't want this too far extended above because it's a little more fragile than the regular stamp. I think it'll still fit that way. So I'm considering the logistics of doing this and where I want to put my dimensionals. Let's see again. By not taking the protective cover over, it allows me the opportunity to set them down and adjust. Okay, I want some down there. We're safe there. There, 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 there. I'm using a lot of little ones because we have little pieces that we're working with here. But I don't want to block being able to stick the vellum underneath. So another one there, maybe. Maybe not. I think we'll wait on that. Okay. Let's see how we are. Okay, that helps. What I'm doing is I'm laying this out and then I'm kind of planning where I'm going to put what. Now, when you're working with something semi-invisible, transparent, like the vellum, you want to kind of feel it, and you can feel where the backside is because it's rougher. Okay, that's going to be a better spot. And that probably would be fine for this. That could go there. Let's see, got to get it going the right way. All right. Okay, so, all right. I'm just kind of laying these out in the direction I'm planning on going. And then I'm going to take the dimensional covers off. I was a little slow getting the Charming Day set. And when I got it and started working with it, it was just so cute. I thought, why did I wait so long? But, things kind of, you get busy and things kind of get in the way, and you just kind of have to do what you can do and be happy about what you've got done. Okay. All right. And I'm going to use the tweezers if I can find them. There they are. Because this is a little tricky. Oh, what is going on here? There. Now, okay, so this one, I'm going to put glue just on the stem and kind of fit it in there where I can. Okay, and this one, oh, you're being difficult. Okay. All right, change of plans. Let's see. Do I like it like that? Will this still fit? No. Okay, change of arrangement. That'll work. You have to be flexible. You have to adjust to what is ever happening. Come on. There we go. There we go. It's a lot easier with the die cut stamped image, but I didn't have that option with you guys. So we're doing this. All right. Now, let's see. Did I or didn't I? I laid that flat. So we'll lay it flat this time too. Okay. All right. Move it over just a smidge. Oh, you don't want to stick properly. We'll get you there. Okay. Okay. All right. And then for the inside, we have a pretty peacock with a layer. The pretty peacock layer. Pretty peacock. Okay. Sentiment layer. Okay. 2x3? No, it's 2¼ by 3¼ and then the white sentiment part is 2x3. 2x3. Now the trick of it is I'm going to take this, I'm going to put it down, I'm going to glue it, and I'm going to center it on the pretty peacock. And then you probably want to get your sentiment stamped out ahead of time. I was going to use this happy birthday. I used a different happy birthday that came from that one set. And what happened was I stamped it on a separate piece of paper, cut it in half so it would fit stacked on top of each other. This one, provided I can find it. Let's see. Oh, it's down here. There it is. Okay. You can tell I've used this a lot because it's stained a lot darker. Okay. Another block. No, I'm not comfortable with that. It feels like it's lost a little of its stickiness, so I'm going to do a little quick clean. Lay it down. Oh, by the way, the chamois, all I use is water. I don't have any special anything. I just use water. Okay. And pretty peacock. All right, I'm bringing this down closer to me so I can see better. This is going to be a tight fit, but I think it'll look good. There we go. Now, one more hint for this card. We're going to be putting, I'm going to clean that too. We're going to be putting this in the back, but we notice that this has got a cut to it. So you have to be aware when you place it that you're not placing it where it will show. For example, if I put it up too high, it could show. So I need to move this down and it won't show. So I kind of moved it down and center it. And then if you're still not sure, what you can do is you can kind of make sure carefully. Let's move this out of my way. Okay. I'm pretty sure we're down far enough. Okay. Double check. It's covered. We're good. All right. So there you go. Card 3. Oh, wait a minute. No, we're not. No, we're not. No, we're not. We have something extra. I got to figure out where to put it. I'm moving things around. I tend to cover over the stuff I'm working with really often. Put that away. Okay, I know you're here. I saw you earlier. Where did I put you? Move the stamps over. And that's over there. Oh, no, that goes out. Okay, there's this. Aha! See, you have rhinestones, but they're so small. And I've taken everything else out. And if I had taken these out, chances are I would have lost them. So we have some rhinestones. Now, going by what I did before, I just did a triangular placement. And I'm going to do something similar. Just that little something, something extra sparkle. And I just really like how it turns out. Now, I know you can't see what I'm doing because my finger's holding the rhinestone. Okay. Yeah. There we go. There is, if you can see the sparkle, that's the third card. Okay. A lot of techniques involved with that one. Now, this last card is going to go fast, and it is so fun. I keep making more of them. I'm just kind of organizing my space again, so when I go to look for stuff, it'll be where it belongs. Okay. Move this out of the way. Here we go. Last card. This is the pinched paper card. And I've had a lot of fun with this. I keep making more. I had another one I pulled. Let's see. I needed a lot of thank you cards. Anyway, it works well for that. Um, you have a lot of um, possibilities as far as what you want to put in the center of the pinched pleats. Here's another one. As I told you, I needed a lot of thank you cards. This is coming closer to what we're going to be making, where I used the die cuts that we used in the last card, but I colored them to match the colors in the paper. So just so you know, and I used, in this case, I just use sequins, but depending on what you have is what you use. Actually, I want to keep it all together, so I want to put this in the back side so I can read. Okay. Now, in your kit, we have the card base, which is 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4.25. Now you fold that, and I check to see there's a little bit of a gap. So this is the longer section, so this will be my front. In your kit, you have a layer that's going to go on top of the front of the card base. And you're going to have designer series paper. Now the layer was 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. So you just have a very narrow border on this card. You have an inside layer, 5 1/4 by 4. And you have 3 pieces of designer series paper. You have they're all 5 1/4 in height, and width you have 2.5 inches, and you have 2 that are 1 3/4 inches, and then you have this little strip here that is 3/4 inches. That's going to be used for the inside layer. Okay, we folded the card base. We're going to go ahead and add this to the front. Okay, down just a smidge there. Okay, narrow border. All right, now we're going to take the wider strip of designer series paper. This is directional, so you want to pay attention to that. Okay, and I'm going to glue the wider piece in the center. And you'll have like 1/8 of an inch top and bottom. Okay. Now, here's where I use tape runner. Actually, this is pretty just the way it is, but this is the technique I'm showing you now, so we got to have fun with it. All right. So we are going to take and we are going to glue this down, leaving that small 1/8 border around, but we're only going to glue it on this side. So I got to run the tape runner along that. I'm using tape runner this time because it's dry right away, and I'm going to be manipulating this. And because it's only on one side, I can kind of control the stickiness until I'm ready and then press it down. Same thing, going to go this way. I'm going to put the glue on that side. Okay. I found this pretty easy as far as I could put, line this up on this side and see how the border was on that side and adjust it if I need to, and then press when I'm ready. Done. Okay. Now let's see. We have, I can do that later. We have, here's the fun part. You're going to take and you're going to fold back the top middle corner. And you don't want to fold it back so that the underlying color shows. So you want to fold it and kind of keep it within a certain parameter. And then just kind of crease it. You can use a bone folder if you wish. And you're going to do the same thing with the other side. Bring it down to about the same point. It's forgiving. You don't have to be exact because you're going to be covering over the middle of it. Now you do the same with the bottom. You bring it back. Okay. And you bring this back. There's your pinch pleat. Now, I gave you some extra embellishments with this. And I also gave you another one of those die cuts. Because I've already gone through and shown you the coloring of it, I am not going to do that this moment. I'm just going to use the ones I've already colored to speed the process. We need to stamp a sentiment. And I believe I had... one that I wanted to use. Where did it go? I know I have it because it was the step that I used. Did I cover you? Oh, covered it over. I'm good at doing that. Okay, thanks for being you. That's from Charming Day. I liked it. Oh, here's a picture of a, I stamped the stamp image that I colored for the others. I stamped it in Pretty Peacock and it turned out pretty nice. Okay. Okay. So now this is a little more challenging. This is red rubber. You can't really see through it. You're kind of dependent on the picture or the image that's on the stamp itself. Most of the time, in cases like this, I would stamp it on the cardstock and then cut it out after the fact because then I could center. I'm gonna be brave. It may work, it may not work, I may have to finagle, but this also has the padding because it's the rubber stamp. So I don't need to use the foam mat. There we go. Going to add this to this. The nice thing about circles is there really is no crooked. If you stamped it crooked, you just rotate it. I left some space down here because I'm going to be putting the flower down there. That's where it's going to go. And then this is the flower I was planning on using. I'm going to use dimensionals. Okay. I'm lining this up. Now you have, depending on what you're wanting to do, you have a little leeway here. If you want to have this a little higher, you can, because I'm going to be putting the flower down here, so I wanted more room down there. So that's what I'm doing. Okay, and then I want the flower, and I'm going to glue part of it, but I think I'm going to put a dimensional behind the leaf and behind that one bottom petal. And the one bottom petal. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's big enough for a bigger one. Yeah. That. Okay. And then I'm going to add glue. I'm looking at where I can add glue across here and some on that leaf. I'm careful where I put the glue. I'm not going to put a whole lot. Some on the leaf. And then I pull this off, the covering of the dimensionals. I pull that off. And then I'm going to use my handy dandy, if I can find it. Okay, there it is. I put it away. Imagine that. Okay. All right. Now, I'm careful not to cover over my sentiment. And then what I wanted to do is the bigger rhinestone, if I can pick it up. The bigger rhinestone I wanted to put on the center of the flower. I just thought that gave it a kind of a finishing touch. and the others place around where you like them. Okay. I kind of like to sprinkle them around. Come on. Do I want one up there? I don't know. I think I want one over here. Anyway, it's up to you wherever you want to put the rhinestones, the embellishments. Okay. There you go. Your card with sparkle. Now let's do the inside real quick. This piece, make sure it's going the right way, is going to go on the edge. Okay. And then this, I think I want it like that. Let's see, the one I've done previously had the stamped and die cut image. I'm doing it with this, but I'm also going to use the same sentiment. So I wanted to have that there so I have an idea where I wanted to stamp it. And here again, I would use normally I would use my Stamparatus, but I'm being brave today. Okay. Oh, well, I have a problem. I have choices. Do I just start over again? Or do I add more flowers? I could possibly add more flowers. Let's see. I had some already colored. All right. Almost. Let's see. Oh, that would be kind of fun. Not so noticeable. I think I can do that. And then I'm going to cheat a little too. It's always helpful to have a few other tips you can do. You get that or like that. Oh, well, that works pretty good. Okay. All right. My cheat. White out. Just a bit. Okay. So we are going to put flowers. Now, normally I would probably maybe even sponge this, but these are large enough that I think I can accomplish it with this. I'm just putting dabs of glue. Okay. And then this one. I think that'll be perfectly fine. See, pays to have extras. Okay. And we can put this in here centered. Well, that's one thing about lives is you get to see when accidents happen that there is usually a way to solve the problem. Okay, that's the fourth card. I hope you enjoyed this class. I have to admit, I had so much fun making these, and they go pretty fast, that I kept making them. Depending on the inspiration you get from the paper you use, you can choose other things. Like, for instance, I just used regular circle dies for this. But in this case, I had a punch that was fancy, and it had stamps that matched the punch. And of course, it had sayings that went along to fit in the stamp or the punch area. And I went with the vine line because I just felt like this paper was kind of viney. In the case where the punch, I punched the stamped design, and then I punched it again on a complementary color and added it to the back. But to make it visible, I simply cut it in half and then glued it to the back, allowing just a little border. You can do that with a lot of different punches. I'm not overly a punch fan because I think you have so much more variety available to you in dies, but sometimes they're just the thing. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed these cards. I really have been having a lot of fun with this, and I wanted you to enjoy it too. And that's why I'm sharing it. Anyway, thank you for coming. I appreciate you. If you are not subscribed and you press the subscribe button if there's there, it'll help you get notified when I do come on live. One of my goals this year is to start doing more little live videos, sharing techniques on how things can be done. I try to do a lot of techniques in my classes because all these little hints help in the long run, especially when you run into a situation where, oh, that didn't work. I've got to figure out something else. Anyway, have a good day. Enjoy your weekend. Thank you for coming. Appreciate your interest, and thumbs ups are appreciated. It all helps towards me building and being able to share it with more people. So if you have any questions, I'm available. You can ask. And you take care. Thank you. I just got to find the right button, right?